Today, I'm going to be swapping this Nucular P24F controller onto my Talaria XXX. I've had this bike for a little over a year now, and I have put 1,400 miles on this thing, and I love it. I've upgraded it a bunch, but today it's going to be getting this. This controller is going to allow me to bump up the power once I swap to a 72 or 74 volt battery. It also will allow me to connect a regen throttle to this bike. Now let's get this thing up on the stand and disconnect the battery, and then we'll start taking apart the bike.
If you don't want to watch the install process, you can skip to the timestamps below to the riding footage. Spoilers, the bike is a little bit faster, but we do gain access to regen throttle.
To release this, you just push down, pull out. Leave that hanging out like that. We're gonna reconnect the back shock. Just loosely for now, because we're gonna have to get back in there to reconnect that after. Now we can take this bike back off the stand. The next thing we're gonna do is start removing both the controller and the skid plate. So I think we'll start with the skid plate.
It's only held on with 4 Allen bolts.
Next up is the horn cover.
This one is only held on with 3. It's helpful to turn the front fork all the way to the side so that you can get a tool in there.
Removing the controller is as simple as removing these 4 bolts. Next, we gotta start taking apart some of these connections on my super dusty controller. Oh, this poor thing. It's seen a lot.
I'm just pressing in the releases with this small Allen key and then pulling apart the connectors.
And then we just have to disconnect the wires. These are our phase wires that are all labeled and colored. Well, actually, these are our 3-phase wires, and these are our positive and negative battery wires. So let's start disconnecting those.
The new controller does come with its own hardware for connecting these wires, so we're just going to put these back into the controller. That way we have them if we ever want to reuse this for something else.
We're going to reconnect this all using the new hardware that came with the kit. So all of these are labeled. I took off those rubber sleeves because they won't fit under the covers. I guess we'll start with U because this is the longest cable. It is so hot out here today, guys. I am sweating bullets. With any of these controller wires, you don't want to tighten them too tight so you can risk damaging the terminals.
But you do want to make sure they are snug because a loose wire could cause a short.
Before I connect the battery wires, I'm gonna run my cable for the display. Just like that. Follow the rest of this wiring harness down here. And this one is labeled CAN. This says CAN here. So we're just gonna plug this guy right into there. Speaking of other cables, we need to connect the rest of these as well. So this is our Hall sensor. I recommend doing this before you put this on the bike because this is a little bit harder afterwards. So this is our Hall sensor. IN1-4 is going to be this connector over on this side. All right, we've moved back into my garage because it is brutally hot outside. But this is another part that I probably should have done before I put the controller on the bike. These have to mount to here. with these bolts and nuts. So let's get that mounted up.
Bolting on these side pieces allow it to adapt to the stock mounting location of the Talaria XXX. These spacers are extruded plastic, not 3D printed like some of the earlier kits came with. It does take a little bit of fiddling to get all of the wires to sit happily behind the controller and having all 4 bolts lining up. After that is installed, we can put the horn cover back on. I recommend putting the top bolt in first, that way the bottom ones line up easier.
Now we just have to put the Talaria skid plate back onto the bike, and then we just gotta hook up the controls to this wire. So let's get this thing on.
This is super easy, just 4 more bolts and this is going back onto the bike.
This is the display that comes with the Nucular. It actually mounts the same way a GoPro would, and it comes with a mount that goes onto handlebar mount, but since I have a direct mount, it is not compatible. So I'm going to be using this Insta360 bicycle mount to hold it on for now, but I do have a part coming in to replace that shortly. We got to open up the back of this thing, plug in our display wire.
One thing of note is that the top bolts and the bottom bolts are different lengths, so you want to make sure you put those back into the same holes they came out of. Now I'm just temporarily fitting this display in a position that makes sense for the ergonomics of riding. The display is plugged into the controller, and you can also connect a regen throttle now if you have one.
Just to give you an idea of how I have this thing positioned for now.
Now that we're done playing with high voltage wires, we can swing the swing arm back down and reconnect the battery. Once this is put back together, we need to run the auto setup before we can take this thing out for its first ride. My footage of this part got corrupted, but I'm going to explain it in this next clip here. After you have everything set up, you want to have your bike up on the stand, because in the setup process, your rear wheel will spin. I'm not going to go all the way through it, but I'm going to show you how you do it because I've already done it. So we press this, we want to go down to our devices, press the green, Nucular controller. Then we're going to go to auto setup, and you're going to configure step by step. You're just going to click on this, change that to on, and then it's going to run through a process. It's going to have you pull both of your brake levers so it can read the sensors on that, and then it will have you twist the throttle, and then it will run through a setup process where it spins the wheel both forwards and backwards, and then it will go and make some noises to calibrate the current and stuff. So we're going to turn this back off. After you have that done, you can go down to your motor setup. In my case, I had to change this to inverted because my wheel was spinning backwards on the throttle. And once you do that, you should be good to go.
The bike is now running on the Nucular P24F, and the throttle curve is so much better than it used to be. I also set up this thumb throttle, and let's see how accurate our GPS is. So we say 35, that says 33, so we are a little over on this. It's probably I know it's something I can adjust, so we will fix that a little bit later. But for now, we're just gonna go out and adventure, and I'm just gonna explain to you the difference between this and the stock tune. So right now, this bike feels so much more smooth. We have 3 power levels that we can adjust independently. I haven't played with those that much, but I have played with regen throttle. So my thumb throttle now activates regen as well. Now we're climbing up a hill. We can actually see how many amps the bike is pulling right there, as well as how many watt hours we have left and our voltage, which is all the information that I really would like to know when I'm riding my bikes. You'll also notice this. This is my new little tank bag. It's supposed to be a handlebar bag, but I wanted to be able to ride this bike without a backpack on, which is something that was required with my old setup. Back to how the Nucular is doing. It feels fantastic. Honestly, this is the smoothest throttle curve I've felt from any bike so far, or any controller. I really don't see how you could get much better than this. It's very linear and direct, and I feel like this bike has a little bit more power than it did stock. I think I am topping out a little bit slower, but I feel like I'm a little bit torquier than I was before. You'll also notice that I switched to this smoked out visor. So now we're gonna play with the regen throttle as we come down into here. And get it back on the throttle, and yeah. This Talaria feels so great right now, man. We have now made it to the state forest, which we are going to hang right into here. Back again to the Nucular controller. This thing feels really good. These are the stock settings, so I'm actually just going to slow down a little bit. When you turn it on, it'll automatically be in gear. You can change that, but I don't want to accidentally cycle into neutral. So gear 1, it's pretty gentle. Like, you can twist it pretty hard, and it's only going to give us 50 amps at max and limit us to 21 miles an hour. We can press the red button. It gives us a bit more power and lets us go up to probably like 35. And then if we hit it one more time, we bump it up into 3. You can see the little 3 up there. And it definitely feels way better than stock. So on the stock throttle curve, there was kind of a dead spot halfway in the middle that it would just kind of like give you an aggressive rev once you got the throttle past that point. That is completely gone now. I can really modulate the throttle exactly how I want it, and the bike responds exactly the way I would expect it to, which not all electric bikes do that. We now also have the regen throttle, so I'm not touching the brake. We are using the thumb throttle, and that is giving us 150 amps of regen. We are gonna slow down before we cook on this corner, because if there is a car here, there's a cliff on my right, so nowhere to bail. Okay, we're good. A little bit of wheel spin. She is ripping pretty, man. With the new Arfloxa front fork and this Talaria P24F controller, this bike is feeling completely new. And we're going to rock it like this for a little bit, but the intention is to put a 74-watt E-Watt battery into this bike and up the power numbers. But something I also want to do is take advantage of something in the Nucular ecosystem. So they have a module called the U-Lite, which is a plug-and-play little module that goes into the onboard computer of the P24F. It allows you to set up turn signals, connected through the CAN bus system of this bike. Of any bike, I guess, actually. But I want to set that up, and then I want to bump the power up, get this thing completely street legal, hit that regen throttle, and we're locking up the rear wheel with regen alone, which is kind of sick, in my opinion. One thing I want to do is open back up my battery compartment and put a little piece of foam just to stop a little bit of the battery rattle when we're going over the really rough stuff. So that's the only time I ever get it. So yeah, we're just going to pull back up here, and I'm going to show you a little bit about what makes the Nucular really cool. So you can tune this thing while you're out on a ride. You just hit this button once. We go down to, I gotta close this because there's a million bugs about to get in my face.
My camera angle was terrible on the riding portion, so I'm just going to show you on here. We're going to go into here, and this is how you tune this. So we're going to go into control modes, and then you have 3 different settings that you can change in 3 different levels. So you can play with those to tune your different levels that are activated by this red button here. And then you have 3 different options for enabling regen braking.
And then we have our braking phase. You can have this hooked up so when you pull these, it activates, or you can set it up for a regen throttle. All you have to do is plug it in the back. The kit does come with pins, so you can convert a thumb throttle you already have into this, which is what I did. Now, if we come down here, you can change our braking phase at speed. This is when you are riding and you don't fully let go. This is like the passive regen, like in an electric car. And then you have your braking phase at 0% throttle, which means when you reset your throttle to 0, it will boost up that regen. Personally, I don't like that, so I don't have it enabled. But cool thing is, like, you can ride around while you're in the setting, punch things in. You don't have to take off gloves. You don't have to play with an app. It's all right here on the bike, which I appreciate. And if you think that my advice is useful, hit that like button down below. People on ATV over there. But we are just going to send it and keep going a little bit farther. You can also change the color of the lights on the front of the screen. I have it set to red for obvious reasons. We're driving a red Talaria XXX, and we got red accents on our riding gear. All right, we are maxing this thing out right now, gliding over some deep potholes with this beautiful suspension. Ooh, that's some rough stuff right there. But no problem. Since I put this controller on, I haven't had any issues. I haven't tried to tune up the bike, which is something that I might do in a future video and try and get a little bit more speed out of this. But overall, I am super happy with the 2 things that I really wanted. I wanted better throttle control, and I wanted a regen throttle, which I have both of those now. Plus, we now have the ability to move up to those higher voltage batteries. And we can play with more settings if we wish. This is a pretty complicated controller. You can really do a lot with it. Now we hit it, full throttle. On this part's rough, so we're gonna slow it down just a touch. Yep. This part's got some bigger loose stones, so we gotta be a little bit more careful. It's easy to fishtail on it, and we are running on the 17-inch wheels with the Shinko 241s, which are 50/50 wheels. So they're pretty good in the dirt, they're pretty good on the street, but they are not exceptional at either one. I do like them though. Dodging potholes and stuff. Bike feels super agile. Coming up here, slow down, because I know other people like to ride fast too, and I don't want to get slammed. All right, nothing. Pin it again. Yeah, look at how fast this thing's willing to throw the amps at our motor. There are multiple different throttle curves that you can set it on. I believe I am on power and torque, or speed and torque. I can't remember which, but we can go check in a minute and show you exactly what we're on. We're going to be turning off our front light too to conserve a tiny bit of battery. We're going to stop here for a second once we get past this. So guys, I have a pretty funny story, and you'll be able to see the remnants of it. So, a couple days ago, I was out riding. I came out this way. I go all the way down this way to a lake, and I'm just chilling there. Guy comes by on a WR 250, and I'm like, okay, That's cool. People riding. So then I decide, okay, I'm going to start leaving. I start heading out. I hear him coming up behind me. So me and him are ripping down this trail super duper fast. And eventually he's catching up with me. I'm like, okay, I don't want to ride this fast on this trail that much. So I wave him forwards. He comes past me and we come up here. And let's see if you can guess what happened. He locked up here, slid sideways, and then dumped the bike right over here onto this. Like, you can see it pushed all of this stuff into here, over here. He was wearing shorts and, like, just some basic sneakers. Luckily, even though he dumped the bike, he was okay. So, that's good. Anyways, we're going to hop back on the Talaria. It doesn't look good, this setup. I love this bike, man. Not everyone loves the Talaria XXX, but, you know, it was my first e-moto, and I like it enough that I'll build it instead of buying a off-the-shelf one. Plus, half the fun of owning these things are modding the hell out of them. This is one of the lighter and smaller bikes, and I'm a lighter and smaller rider, and one thing that I really like about this bike is the fact that it has the long seat, so you can like get way back here, or you can scooch way up here, and you can shift your weight to different parts of the bike, depending on what you're riding. But this thing is so playful and nimble that we can kind of just rip through stuff like this at a pretty decent speed. And I could be riding faster, but I'm riding solo out here, so I always take things with an air of caution. I don't have a backup plan or a rescue team waiting to come get me. Oh, I think my mount is about to break. Yeah, my mount is sure about to break. Look at this thing. It sure does, but your boy does not have the thing to put that on, so we're gonna have to put this away before I lose a camera. Well, that's gonna look uglier for the rest of the ride, but that's all I can do, boys. I don't want to destroy that camera. Yeah. Anyone who said this bike can't off-road has never tried. It's actually quite capable. This area is so beautiful. We got the swamp over on this side. We have the lake over on our left. Well, if you guys are enjoying this video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe down below.
On the stock battery, you're not going to gain any top speed on the Talaria XXX, but you will gain some acceleration. The throttle curve feels way more predictable and way smoother than the stock profile. I love how easy this thing is to tune on the fly. It allows you to ride around while you're in the screen that allows you to adjust the power on all of your profiles. So this makes the process of dialing in your tunes just that much easier because you don't have to keep flipping back into a separate app. I'm also very excited to try out the U-Light module that will allow me to set up both headlight, tail light, and blinkers through the CAN bus system on the bike. Although this controller doesn't have the new wheelie control that is available on the market, I do think this is still a great option for the Talaria XXX because it is plug and play and it is just so smooth and it has so many customizations that you can do to tune the bike exactly the way you want it to ride. But that's all I got for you guys today. I'll have links to everything down below. Hit that subscribe button, and thank you so much for watching to the end. Bye now.